Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Fire Me channel. So today we're going to just be talking about a few things, what's going on with the market, the economy, short-term and long-term future of the country, and what my thoughts are on where things are going from here. So let's start off with talking about the first thing that I think is probably the most serious part of this whole COVID crisis besides the health issues, and that is the unemployment rate. So right now, I think there's a lot of expectations that once we all get back to work, or the all clear that we can go back to work, everybody's going to go back to the job they previously had. It'll be business as usual, but I highly doubt that that is going to happen. I think it's going to take a long time, even if they opened up everything 100% tomorrow, for life to go back to normal. Small businesses, some of the small business owners are going to have to operate on a reduced staff for a while just to start making some money and get their feet back under them before they can ramp back up. Some of these companies have probably already folded. Some probably will not open the door again once this is over. So I think the ramp up is going to be a lot slower than it was. Also, I think a lot of companies use this as an opportunity to streamline their business and to make layoffs with the COVID crisis as an excuse to do so. So I think coming back from this is going to be a lot harder than what the optimism is by most people today in the market. So just keep your, keep that in the back of your mind. Let me know what you think about that as well. That's just my opinion. But it's going to be tough to get back to the way things were before the whole world went into the shutdown mode. All right, so that's probably my number one concern, is the unemployment rate. Number two, this is another concern of mine, and I don't know what the long-term effects of it are going to be, but the amount of money the federal government is handing out and essentially just printing. So is that going to devalue the currency? Is that going to create some kind of hyperinflation that we're not anticipating? Is that going to create a ridiculously high tax burden for the next generation to cut like 20, 30 years to come to pay for this? I don't think any of us really know the answer to that. I'm kind of specifically worried about some kind of hyperinflation happening. You can't print that much money and just pump it out there into the economy with nothing to back it and think nothing's going to change. They've just printed way too much. I shouldn't say way too much money, but they've printed so much money to basically buy their way through this that I can't see there being anything but some kind of currency devaluation in order to compensate for the amount of money that's been printed. That being said, the entire world's in the same boat. So if we see inflation, maybe the entire world will see inflation as well, and it'll be tit for tat, or maybe nothing will happen. I don't know, but that is a big concern of mine, is the amount of liquidity that's been injected. What does that really mean? I don't think this has ever been done to this scale before in history. So that's something to keep your eye on. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you're a homeowner, or maybe you have a few rental properties, that's probably great. And the reason I say that's great is because the value of your house will skyrocket. If there's hyperinflation, or wages will have to go up to match inflation, which means the outstanding debt that's on your house will become worth less and less, and be basically easier to make payments on it. So in that terms, it could be good, but overall, rapid, massive inflation like that is not good. Swings up, swings down that are too big on anything basically mean that things are not stable, and it's not good overall for the economy. And we kind of like things to be stable. The market does not like uncertainty. So anyway, that's number two to watch out for, hyperinflation due to the amount of currency that's been printed and pumped into the economy. Okay, number 3 three, this is another big concern of mine. So all this money is going into the economy. Unemployment checks are being, I believe, subsidized with an extra $600 from the federal government. So what does that mean? It means people are spending more money, which is kind of, I believe, artificially propping us up in the short term until hopefully people can get back to work. But the other problem with this is most people that are on unemployment getting this extra money and spending it are spending it at places like Walmart, Target, Costco, and all of these places are great, except for a lot of their suppliers are from China. So ultimately, all the stimulus money is to some degree funneling its way back into China, which I absolutely hate, but that's the reality of it. So although we stimulated the economy, the second, third turnover of those dollars might not necessarily stay in the US. It might actually end up back over to China and these other places where all this manufacturing is. So another concern of mine, but the same thing happened in 2007 and 8 when the government injected all this money into the economy. A lot of it did make its way back to China as well. Now, the one thing that love them or hate them that Trump is doing is between the trade war and this COVID crisis and the negative sentiment towards China at this time, there is a lot of pressure to onshore production and manufacture again back to the US. So this will be fantastic, especially if we have high levels of unemployment. We'll have a lot of people to be able to fill those jobs in the short term. I really do hope some of this onshoring happens sooner than later. There's a few critical industries that I'm actually shocked we ever let get offshored in the first place, such as medication manufacturing, the chemicals for the medication manufacturing. So even if the pills are made here, the chemicals and the ingredients that go into them are currently mostly made in China and India. So we need to really get that back. Healthcare is way too important to rely on someplace like China to provide us with this stuff. The other thing that I think will be great to bring back onshore, manufacturing these little plastic 2-cent widgets, I don't think we need to do that here. Like, be nice to have it all, but if we have to offshore some production, that's the kind of stuff we want to offshore. But I think the semiconductors, there's a lot of talk with repatriating all that production. It might make electronics over here a little bit more expensive, but I personally am willing to pay a little bit more to have this stuff manufactured and brought back here than to rely on China for everything. I absolutely hate Chinese products. I know there's something made, or components that are made in China in almost everything that we have, but I'm a big proponent of keeping production in Canada and the US and not sending all this stuff over to Southeast Asia just because it's cheaper in the short run. So there's just all kinds of benefits to having that production here. Jobs, security, national security reasons, such as like the medication is a big one. Like, there's no reason that should not be mandated to be produced here. Just more certainty in the supply chain. But a big one that a lot of people don't really talk about as the number one reason, because everyone's focused on price, but quality. So I'll just give you a quick example. I'm a tinker in the shop. I love working on things, woodworking, mechanical stuff, welding, all that kind of stuff in my spare time. And the one thing that I've really noticed is how many tools, if you go to Home Depot or a place like that, are coming out of China. So what I've been doing over the past few years is getting rid of all the stuff made in China and buying things that are actually manufactured in the US. So even though some of the brands might be American, the production of a lot of this stuff is in China. And I'll just give you a quick example. So Stanley screwdrivers. Stanley used to be made in England. It used to be made in the US. Now it's all basically made in Mexico or China. And the other day I had a Stanley screwdriver and I was just using it to pry something up probably not the intended purpose, but the shaft on it bent. The shaft is actually made out of aluminum. Now compare that with a good American-made screwdriver, like a Klein screwdriver made in the US. With steel shaft, that would never happen. So the quality of tools, the tolerances for quality over in the US are so much better than China specifically. Japan makes some good stuff, but for the most part, you know, you want to stick with good American-made tools in this case. And you know, the one big drawback, I guess, to manufacturing tools in the US is China does have the market cornered for batteries and rare earth minerals. So you know, that's kind of another problem with our current supply chain. But I'm a big proponent of buying American-made stuff, and I am more than willing to pay the premium to have high-quality American-made products. I've put my money where my mouth is. I've gotten rid of as much stuff made in China as we could. Even when we went to replace our washer and dryer, we went and did a bunch of research and made sure what we were buying was actually made in the US and not manufactured over in Southeast Asia somewhere. So little things like that are what you can do to help encourage American business and support it. The other big one too, if you want to, if you're wanting to get stuff back on shore, is instead of buying a Toyota, a Honda, a Kia, whatever these foreign-made imports are, buy yourself a GM, a Ford, or a Dodge Chrysler product. If you want a Mercedes, you know, make sure you buy one that's manufactured in the, or a BMW, I should say, make sure you buy one that's manufactured in the US. Whenever you can, buy US manufactured and produced products, even if you have to pay just a little bit more to get it. I know some people aren't in the position to do that all the time, but I'm definitely making an effort to buy American made when possible. But anyway, that was a bit of a rant. Hopefully we can all get back to work sooner than later before this thing totally crushes the economy. You know, really a lot of comparisons between now and the 30s, when there's massive unemployment and the Great Depression, have been made. And I truly believe the only difference between now and then is back then they didn't have the readily available and accessible cheap credit, whereas today almost every person out there has all kinds of access to cheap credit, whether that's a home line of credit, an unsecured credit line. Some credit cards are low interest, just some kind of low interest loan. People today have all these options that are keeping them floating for now, but that's not going to last forever. So we definitely need to get back to work. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a great day, not going too stir crazy working from home. And just leave your comments in below and let me know what you guys think of this COVID crisis and when we might be getting back to work, and what you guys think are the greatest risks to the country and to the economy. So anyways, have a great day, guys. We'll see you in the next video.